Alright, so I wanted to make this video regarding a FBI document within the Epstein files, essentially regarding a confidential human source talking about different encounters he had with people who knew Epstein and sort of go over some of Epstein's circle in a way. I don't want to say circle, but people he was associated with that are heavily tied to, at the very bottom, it'll say foreign influence on U.S. officials by Israel, Russia, and the United Arab Emirates. So let's go over it. I'm just going to read all of it, so enjoy. Date of report, October 19th, 2020. Date of contact, where did that go? October 16th, 2020. There you go. Alright, first source. Caption, confidential human source was asked by the handling agent about information she may be aware of related to improper domestic or foreign influence over the electoral process in the United States. CHS already provided some of his information documented in previous reports, but she expanded on several matters as described below. Redacted, as you can see. Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, CHS, learned that Dershowitz influenced many students from wealthy families, for example, Josh Kushner and Jared Kushner, of course, related to Donald Trump, were both his students. Dershowitz told CHS that if he were young again, he would be holding a stun gun as an Israeli intelligence Mossad agent. CHS believed Dershowitz was co-opted by Mossad and subscribed to their mission. CHS still continues to communicate occasionally for Dershowitz. Jeffrey Epstein was represented by Dershowitz. CHS remembered Dershowitz tell Alex Acosta, U.S. Attorney of Southern District of Florida at the time, that Epstein belonged to both U.S. and Allied intelligence services. CHS shared phone calls between Dershowitz and Epstein, during which she took notes. After these calls, Mossad would then call Dershowitz to debrief. Epstein was close to the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, and trained as a spy under him. Barak believed Netanyahu was a criminal. Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates are allied against Qatar, Turkey, Iran, and Syria. One of CHS's who presumably worked redacted, asked CHS a lot of questions about Epstein. CHS became convinced that Epstein was a co-opted Mossad agent. Masha Drokova, telephone number redacted, is based in Silicon Valley. She has been running a firm called Day One Ventures, which is supposedly an early-stage investment company. She used to be Russian President Vladimir Putin's main contact in the Russian youth movement. CHS and Drokova spoke, but Drokova did not want to talk about technology. Instead, she looked at CHS and said, "You knew Epstein, didn't you?" She said Epstein was a wonderful man and that it was a crying shame what had been done to him. CHS concluded Day One Ventures was in Silicon Valley to steal technology. Wow. CHS advised Chabad is doing everything they can do to co-opt the Trump presidency. Chabad is basically state-sanctioned Judaism. It is used by Putin to keep tabs on all Russo-Jewish oligarchs. On the day Trump was elected president, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner were at the gravesite of Rabbi Shearson, who was the most powerful rabbi in the Chabad network. Network. Jared didn't disclose his stake in Cadre because of his ties to the Russian state. CHS believed this is the real Russian collusion story. Kushner has moved a lot of Kushner has moved a lot of Russian investment money around. The FBI should investigate Kushner's family charities to find evidence of corruption and money laundering. Chabad routinely uses charities to launder money. Wow. CHS provided the attached article entitled Jim McGeevy and His Main Man by Craig Horowitz, published September 10th, 2004. While this article is old and centered on Charles Kushner, it highlights and documents the deep ties the Kushner family has with Israel and their history of corrupt business practices and alleged violations of election laws. CHS stated that if the FBI is serious about investigating the Kushners and their relationships with the Middle East, they should look closely at Ken Coercion, who knows everything. CHS advised Henry Kissinger introduced Charles to Kui Tiankai, the Chinese ambassador to U.S., a relationship that could have been helpful. At around the same time of the introduction, Anbang was entering negotiations with the Kushners over 666 Fifth Avenue. Harry Donoesobinjo has been involved, has developed Trump's hotels, and is a billionaire. Harry introduced her to the Indonesian CIA. Harry speaks Indonesian. Harry bought his Beverly Hills home from Trump at an inflated price. NFI was at Harry's house when Trump told him that he was going to fuck Amazon over the military contracts. CHS advised that this was a real collusion story. Trump has been compromised by Israel, and Kushner is the real brains behind his organization and his presidency. Igor Gorbatov brokered the sale of a Beverly Hills mansion Trump acquired for $800,000, less than the market value. CHS referenced the attached article that summarized the matter. A small-time scam artist gave Trump a mansion for $0. Why? Published April 12, 2018 by Lance Williams and Matt Smith in Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting. Ross Delston, a Washington, D.C. based attorney and consultant of financial crimes to the International Monetary Fund, said the deal included many facets that don't add up, and that the deal warrants further scrutiny and investigation should follow up on the numerous oddities and red flags that this series of transactions raises. The Fishes signed the deed transferring the Beverly Hills home. The Fishes are prominent Los Angeles real estate investors and political donors. They have given more than $250,000 to the GOP candidates and causes. Records show they were guests at the White House when George W. Bush was president and accompanied him on a trip to Israel, Selma Fish said in a phone interview. Their daughter and wife of the sales broker, Lisa Gorbatov, is a GOP activist and president of the Beverly Hills Unified School Board. Lisa is an active member of the Jewish community in Beverly Hills. After one season on the West Coast, The Apprentice moved back to New York. Trump never lived in the Beverly Hills mansion. In the summer of 2009, he sold the home for $9.5 million. Over the $800,000 purchase, less than the previous year's price, to a Swiss entity associated with the family of Ika Widjaja. I probably said that wrong. An Indonesian billionaire financer. The sale was in cash cash. Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, filed the legal papers for the shell company involved in the mansion's purchase, and he notarized the deed when Trump sold the property, records show. He didn't respond to multiple requests for comment. CHS stated Rinda Tillerson, telephone number that redacted. Rinda is the wife of Rex Tillerson, former Secretary of State for Trump. Rinda told CHS about smears in the New York Post and how Jared was running a rival State Department operation. Rex affirmed Rinda's claim. Rinda was introduced to CHS by Darren Blanton. Rinda and Rex told CHS they had been under intense surveillance. Rinda told CHS she can't wait for the FBI to call her so that she can tell them everything she knows. According to Jed Sugarman and Whitney Webb, Leon Black owns the mercenary firm formerly known as Blackwater, known now Constellus, which has been accused of being involved in several arms and human trafficking scandals. Black is also the CEO of Apollo. At New York Times, noted the Black inexplicably stood by Jeffrey Epstein, recently giving him $50 million. Apollo also lent the Kushners $184 million, while Kushner was facing his 666 Fifth Avenue disaster. See attached screenshots for references. I don't believe there are any. So, Elliot Broidy recently pled to charges related to money laundering, unregistered lobbying for the United Arab Emirates. Broidy previously paid a former Playboy model over $1 million to stay quiet about an affair he had with her. Broidy allegedly successfully lobbied to increase U.S. sanctions on the government of Qatar. CHS advised since Broidy was purportedly the largest fundraiser for Trump supporting the 2016 presidential election, he apparently used his access to Trump to lobby. Joel Mowbray, telephone number redacted, has been in Broidy's inner circle. CHS believe Mowbray was an unregistered lobbyist. Mowbray was one of the shiftiest people CHS had ever encountered. Mowbray was a convert to Judaism. CHS stated Mowbray would flip on Broidy because he's a flipper. Congressman Ed Royce was close to Broidy and has been trying to do shady things. Royce's wife may be a lobbyist who works with Broidy. CHS emphasized the importance for the FBI to investigate Gawker for its involvement in pushing Russian propaganda. Matt Mellon told CHS that after Gawker was destroyed, the Russian intelligence service started using Zero Hedge to influence U.S. people. Synopsis: Foreign influence on U.S. officials by Israel, Russia, and United Arab Emirates. I think more than anything, this is really coming to light now, even regardless of the files being released, due to the level of, for the fact that ICE has been able to garner so much money in such a short amount of time, like more than the Marine Corps gets. That's a strange idea. There's also means to censor anti-Semitism in the United States. What else? Mass surveillance amongst tech companies like Palantir, Oracle, which purchased TikTok. So obviously, I think Israel has invested a lot of money into the United States and controlling the United States, specifically through money, but which I made a video regarding how much money it costs to run for president. You know, essentially at this rate, you need like $1 billion if you not to run necessarily, but if to get the media coverage that you need, to get the staffing that you need, to get the coordinations that you need, travel, all these expenses. You know, you need like almost $1 billion to do all that. Bare minimum, you know, is what I would say. So and you know, my my problem with all this is that the American people is left ignorant to all this. Of course, if the American people did know about all this, which I feel it's coming out at this rate, there's and well, prior to now, I feel like now we're at a crucial moment where maybe we can't even resist anymore because they're detaining people, even citizens, killing citizens, and whatnot. And ICE has become such a large force that, you know, backtrack to 2016 when sort of this stuff was going on, or at least with Donald Trump, his first presidency. You know, if it had come out, the American people maybe would see the corruption within, or the foreign involvement. I won't even go as far as corruption yet, but it's kind of the way I see it. Foreign involvement within our own government, and maybe they would have done something about it. But, you know, hey, that's how the cookie crumbles. So I'm just here to get the word out. I thought this document was fascinating. Of course, I would like to go back to Dershowitz on this first document. Dershowitz also... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Dershowitz just did Epstein. He also was a lawyer for... dang, what's his name? O.J. Simpson. I found that to be interesting. It's kind of just a tangent, but, you know, he's been pretty involved in this country for a while. Of course, Epstein as well. You know, he had an office in Harvard, and Dershowitz being a Harvard law professor, you know, I believe they had close ties. With that being said, so God bless. Much love. Stay safe. Adios.